This podcast is sponsored by Omni. Omni is the AI analytics platform that helps Nextory, Avon, and Acast accelerate AI adoption, improve self-service, and embed analytics into their products.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Data AI Stockholm YouTube channel. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Arielle Strong, VP of Product at Omni. Arielle has spent her career at the intersection of data, analytics, and product innovation. Throughout her journey, she has held leadership roles in other organizations including Accenture, Looker, Google and People.ai, helping shape products that enable organizations to better understand and act on their data. Today, she leads product at Omni, one of the most exciting companies in the modern analytics space, focused on transforming how teams collaborate with data and making analytics more accessible across organizations. We're also especially grateful to Omni for being a strategic sponsor of the Data AI Stockholm Summit 2026, taking place on October 14th in Stockholm, where we will bring together practitioners, researchers, and industry leaders to discuss the future of data and AI. Arielle, thank you so much for joining us today. I would love to start with your story. So you have had a fascinating career across consulting, analytics, cloud, and product leadership. So could you tell us a bit about your background and how you first got into product and the data space?
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for having me today. Appreciate the opportunity to come on and have a chat about this stuff. It's exciting. So a bit about my background. I started my career as a data analyst on data teams inside of a consulting business. And first job out of school, didn't really know what I was doing. I knew I liked something in technology. Data kind of spoke to me. My background was not in like computer science or anything, but in engineering. So a lot of numbers and kind of like data work. And really the first few years of my job was like a lot of just writing SQL queries, saving them to my desktop and breaking Excel workbooks because the data size was too big. So the first time that somebody put Tableau in front of me, I was just like, what in the world is this like insane tool? And so after that, it sort of prompted me to look around and be like, okay, I think I need to go figure out how to help other people realize that there are better ways to work with large amounts of data. And that led me to Looker, which I had honestly no idea what it was at the time. It was a pretty small company. I was like, okay, we'll try this. And I spent a few years there helping our customers actually like implement Looker, but Looker alongside other data products in the space. So like at the time, that was when we were sort of rejuvenated around the idea of semantic layers and like ELT instead of ETL at the time, and like cloud data warehouses were just coming up. So it was really fun getting to be kind of at like the forefront of a lot of companies bringing on what is now, or maybe it has stopped being called like the modern data stack, and just kind of got my love for working in that kind of product space. And then from there, after a few years doing that, moved into product management because it went from like me being able to help a couple of customers at a time kind of like stand this stuff up and see how they could actually get folks access to data across the organization, and wanting to more solve stuff at scale of like, what are the next set of problems that we can go help everybody do? And that led me down the path of product. So that's a bit about how I landed here. And then took a couple of turns after that, but some of the colleagues I met at Looker are the founders now at Omni. So they kind of, we took our learnings from the Looker, and Looker got acquired by Google a few years back. So took those learnings and are bringing them forward here at Omni for how we believe we can do even better.
Fantastic. I mean, yeah, I mean, you, as you said, you also felt a bit lost maybe after university, but eventually you worked a lot with analytics and data. So if you think about it, even the companies that you worked on, you have represented so many different era of analytics, right? And so looking back, was there any particular moment or project that made you realize data was the space you wanted to dedicate your career to? And like, yeah.
I feel like it went from being first just like personally quite interested in like, learned SQL for the first time. And it felt very empowering to somebody had a question and I was actually able to go find the answer. But I had a lot of friends at the time that were just starting with me that like couldn't do that. Like they didn't know SQL, or they weren't figuring, like they didn't even have the tools at their disposal. Like I said, it was all like Excel workbooks that just could not handle the amount of data, and you had to sort of figure out. I was actually writing SQL against like the production systems. We didn't even have a warehouse, so like literally took production down. It was problematic, and so that's what got me excited about like, oh wait, there's actually ways and tools that we can give this feeling of like understanding and seeing things in the business to more people.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. I mean, even if we like look back from where you started and where you are now, like even data has changed so much rapidly, right? Even like the industries, how when like the industry when like how they were thinking about data versus today. So what would you say that is the biggest change you have witnessed in how organizations think about data today?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I feel like a lot of the problems, new technologies keep coming, and there's still sort of the same problems, which like for a long time has been access, even with new tools. It's just like people still just can't even get their hands on it. It doesn't even matter like at best, people are still getting extracts and putting them into a spreadsheet, even with all these fancy tools. I think that AI is like a very interesting new way that folks are like, oh, okay, like we actually now have a tool set that folks can really, really use to get their hands around data, but there's still the same problem of like making it available and making it like trustworthy and like understandable, because if it's not understandable to a human, it's like going to suffer from similar problems coming out of AI. Honestly, still just like accessibility is a continual problem. Just the ways that you can wrangle it on the other side are getting easier.
And talking about accessibility to data, I was thinking like maybe we could also talk about Omni, because for people now listening us and they might not know who Omni is, how would you describe Omni and the problem that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, so Omni is an AI native business intelligence and embedded analytics platform, effectively. So the way we came to be is really the thesis was that, and still is, that different types of folks need to like have different ways of working and need to be able to leverage different types of tools to access data, understand it, and do their job. And Omni really came about, honestly, even like 6 months before ChatGPT existed, so before AI was a thing. And the whole point was to try to bridge the two worlds that we had kind of seen like bifurcate in the BI, or like the business intelligence industry, which was like, there was one school of thought on the side that was like, just give like the workbook tools. It's like, let people just get access as quickly as they can and do whatever they want. And it's great because people like that were able to could go get those answers, whether it was writing a SQL query and those types of tools, or like Tableau made it really easy to just like upload data and get going and create your definitions and move forward, move fast. And then there was the other side of the world that was the more like organizational wide governed side of things, which is really the school of thought that Looker sat in, which was, hey, we're going to have a data team at the center that is going to publish these semantic models and then give you an interface to interact with those semantic models. And I think what we saw, and why like the name is Omni, is that there's actually value in both sides of that, but the challenge is bringing them together. Of how do you let people move fast and get unblocked and find that insight, at the same time giving data teams like the tools to see what's happening, make those important pieces reusable as they become like valuable to the organization, and not just have it evolve into chaos. So it's always been about like giving people the tool they need to do the job, and then governance as you need to have it. And AI has really naturally fit into that thesis, as well as like yet another tool, another interface that helps people move fast and work with it.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. So, I mean, you mentioned also Looker, and actually people that created Omni are coming from Looker. So have you also yourself have worked both at Looker and now Omni. So what lessons would you like from the previous generation of BI tools have most influenced, and how are you building now analytics products today?
Yeah, like I think like specifically our learning from Looker was that like centralization and semantics are a good thing, and there's a lot of value to them. At the same time, if that is the only path in, like there's a lot of end users out there that are close to like understanding the business or close to data that has not gone through that process of getting modeled yet, that just get locked out of the system and can't do what they need to do. And so they're either not going to do it, or they're going to go like basically do shadow BI, which are like, I'm going to go put it in Excel, or I'm going to go do this tool off to the side. And now like the whole reason you purchased the semantic layer has fallen apart because like you've got all these leaks on the side. So Omni really came out of that, of like, let's let those folks do the thing they need to do, but under the harness of one product where the data team can actually like see, observe, and then pick that stuff up. So if they go define a new little piece of logic for like, here's what the definition of a late order means, they're the ones close to that business, but how does the data team now take that and pull it back into the semantic layer that everybody can benefit from it? So that was really one big learning from Looker. And then, the other, I would say just learning Looker otherwise was like, give folks the tool they need to do the job. So if that's point and click, great. If that's actually write SQL, great. If that's actually manipulate like a spreadsheet, all of those tools can sit, like those interfaces can all combine in nice ways and have nice like trade-offs between them. But they don't have to be in disparate products. So that's kind of our other big takeaway.
Do you think that there are some misconceptions that organizations have when they think about analytics transformation?
About analytics transformation?
Yeah.
I think, one of the big, I wouldn't say misconception, but one of the big, like, something that I see, and I like, even in myself, like when I'm doing data work, is this like desire to be always 100% correct. Like, I think we opt in as we're doing data work of like, oh, I'm like, it's numbers, it has to be right. And I think the reality is a little bit more nuanced of like, depending on the type of thing you're looking at, there are absolutely certain things that have to be 100% correct. And so you should go slow and do it the right way. Like if I'm going to go put up our P&L statement to the board deck, like I need to, be very, very confident behind those numbers. But I think there's a lot of times where the superpower or the trade-off is actually, I need to move fast and I need to be directionally correct, but not 100% correct. And sometimes we spend too long trying to get the 100% that we end up blocking ourselves or our colleagues from actually just like moving forward with a decision. So I think that nuance is like the hard thing sometimes.
Yes, I can definitely agree. Another thing, like, I mean, it's impossible to talk about analytics today without even talking about AI, right? Like everyone is about AI everywhere. Like you hear AI. So how do you feel like is AI changing the way people interact with data and analytics tools?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like I feel like a year ago, even just would have been a completely different conversation. But like what I'm seeing, even in myself and like our CEO Colin and like a lot of the hardcore like folks who've been in data for a long time is, a year ago we were probably a little tentative and we're like, it's kind of cute toy, it can kind of do some stuff. I don't know if I trust it. Use it a little bit here on the side. What I'm seeing today, even amongst the folks who are like a little bit more skeptical, is like the split is kind of shifting to like where we're doing a lot of our work, where the way I see the ball going is I fully believe that like probably 90% of things will start with AI. That doesn't mean they end there of like, let me get to that final piece, but like it just being able to express what you want in language is truly just like the simplest, most like universal interface you can think of. And so like whether that's doing the analysis, whether it's like building data models or doing transformation, or whether it's like building an asset like a dashboard or an app, I really think AI is going to be like the first entry point. And then the devil's in the details of like, where does it go from there? Like once you get past that first hump, a lot of times AI will take you the full way. And then a lot of times that's where I need to go get my hands on something.
So in your opinion, then I would say that the use case that you see transformative is basically the first step, right? Or am I?
I think like the access piece again, like just the accessibility and like getting somebody over that first thing. I think there's a lot of cases where AI is probably going to go fully automate things that we just don't have to go do anymore.
Yeah.
And then I do think there's going to be a thread of work where it gets me to the first step, but then I can go focus the remaining human energy I have on like that last mile optimization of that problem.
Yeah.
And AI has taken care of like the easy stuff. I mean, it'll take care of a lot of the hard stuff too, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe some even like easy stuff, but maybe stuff that actually take time. Even if it's easy, but it's time consuming, you know?
For sure. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Like there's even myself, I'm using it a lot for really a lot of like, I feel like a lot of analytics, there's like the hardcore analytics, like I'm really trying to dive deep into a problem, like analyze it from many angles. And then a lot of like BI and data analytics is just information retrieval. And there's like a lot of tasks that I do where I'm like, I need to go get a list of customers that meets XYZ criteria. And like, it's the perfect job to go hand off to AI. That's like, I got to go spin up 6 different versions of this, just go crank away until you like basically do this manual work for me. And then I can take that and run with it.
Yeah. But do you think that there is like, there are things the industry is overestimating right now when it comes to AI and analytics?
Sorry, say that again.
If there are there like things that the industry is overestimating right now when it comes to AI and analytics?
Overestimating. I mean, like, I don't know yet. Like, to be honest, I don't know yet. Like, I think that the entire industry is just moving very quickly. I think the things that don't change is like the common saying of like, you know, garbage in, garbage out. And so I think that AI is really great at a lot of things, but you also have to have your foundation in order a bit. That doesn't mean it should stop you from starting. It just like, I think the focus shifts a bit to before the data team like was the filter of like, you know what, things aren't perfect over here, but it's okay because I have all of this context and knowledge that I can kind of filter things and help my end users. And now end users are going more directly straight to the source because it's easy to do so. And so I think data teams now have to shift a little bit or are shifting a bit to like, okay, how do I like set up this environment that is usable and traceable and understandable? And also like, it's very cool. Natural language, it means they can also see what people are asking. Like before they probably, you know, we probably only got a fraction of what was really getting asked because nobody wants to overload you with like 10,000 questions. And now you've got like this incredible like intent stream of like, oh, that's what somebody was trying to figure out. Wait, that might spark a new idea for like how I can help them better solve that and like leverage these tools or go automate something or bring in new data that like they would never have asked about, but the data team can see it and, you know, start to get ahead of those things.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, one challenge that many organizations right now face is making data useful beyond the technical teams. And now, if you can use the AI, it's, I mean, it could definitely be more helpful. But speaking of which, how does Omni think about making data more collaborative and accessible for both technical and non-technical users?
Yeah, I feel like the big piece for us is like, I feel like there's collaboration in the sense you think of, which is like, okay, multiplayer workflows, but I actually think like the bigger unlock is universal interpretability. And like what I mean by that is now it's just so easy for any user to just go ask the thing. And in theory, you can say that's like collaboration because they can just go ask a question, send the link to the data team, be like, it's great. I think where Omni is really focused is making it so that no matter what your skill set is, you can actually interpret what happened. So if you're an end user, you may not speak SQL, but in Omni's UI, like you can actually see how the AI decomposed into like the fields it picked and into a point and click interface that you can actually change. And you can say that filter is wrong and I can point and click to fix it and then send it back to my data person. And on the other side, like the data team can go observe exactly what happened with the AI and that end user. They can see the same things, but they can also get into the SQL and into the code underneath. So like, I think where the miss sometimes is with like collaboration between these teams on an AI world is like only the data team can interpret. And you end up in the same bottlenecked position. Either they just run with it and it's like maybe a bad answer and maybe it's okay, maybe it's not. Or they just, nobody sees what's happening. We don't trust it. So like the two-way interpretation, I think, is really important.
Do you think that there is still obstacles preventing people from becoming truly data-driven? Like, I mean, you also have, I guess, a lot of interaction with your customers. So, like, like when you get some feedback, do you feel like there are still like obstacles?
I think, I mean, just to come back to like, if the data is not there, the data is not there, or like trying to make sense of, now it's like, you've got data in this source system, in like the data warehouse, but there's also like data off here in a spreadsheet or data off here in a Google Doc. And like, how can you just bring that all together in one roof? What I see happen in those cases is like a lot of exports going through like ChatGPT or something. And like, that makes people very nervous for
I can imagine.
And then I think on the other side is like, actually just, I think we're still in the really early days. Like, it's really easy to get swept up and like, oh, everybody's using AI. Everybody's doing it so much better than me. All these companies are so far. And a lot of times we're still actually kind of like on the bubble side or like the very early adopter. And there's a lot of folks out there that just like, not because they don't want to, but just like haven't started. I think you forget you can just like literally ask it how to do something, but that muscle isn't there yet. And I think it will be, like the same way that probably everybody in the world now is just like, oh, I'll just Google that thing. If I don't know, I'll just Google it. I think we will get there too with like data use. But I do think we're stepping outside the tech bubble that hasn't fully proliferated yet.
Yes, although I have to say it was moving really fast. Like if we compare it with Google, like when I will Google it, right? Yeah. I mean, you have spent years building products for highly demanding users. So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges while building modern analytics products today?
Yeah, honestly, it's like the biggest challenge for us, especially because at Omni, like our name is Omni. We have intentionally taken on a lot of like the surface area for doing data work, like across lots of different surfaces. And like, I think the challenge is one, blending those worlds, and two, like making sure that we like do all of those things well. And like all of those things, meaning like we have to be absolutely incredible. And I truly think we are at like the AI analytics side. At the same time, there's lots of businesses that still have to go deliver like printouts of reports to like stores, like retail stores. And they still need a system that can go handle like PDFs that get printed in the right format with the right data structure and the right trust underneath of it. And then everything in the middle of that. And so just being able to like have a system that can actually go across the full span of your data needs and surfaces, I think is like a fun challenge, but a challenge nonetheless. Because we've chosen to not narrowly focus on just one piece of the problem, but the full problem, and making sure that we're living up to all those sides.
I mean, now you also said about fun challenge. When you look at the broader ecosystem, what excites you the most right now when it comes to the data and AI space?
Yeah, I think the things that I think get me jazzed up is like, on one hand, the ease that folks can just like go from idea to build something very, very quickly, like even just beyond doing data analysis. But like, you see folks out there now, like I sent some data into Claude and like it vibe coded this really incredible app that we're now using to like run this part of our business. And just like the speed at which folks can do that. And like, even better if you can put like a trusted harness around it, I believe, like to trust and like, be able to scale that data. and just that I think folks are realizing that data is like a big piece of just like unlocking interesting workflows that change how, like, forces them to think a little bit differently about what their job is. Like you were saying before, is like there was a lot of like manual repetitive stuff that I think folks are realizing, like, oh, I can like think about that in a different way. I could probably build myself a little personal system that can go handle that. And I think that's like the really exciting thing, is sort of this step function and capability that's just going to unlock things that we haven't thought of before.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, let's say that we have this conversation again in 3 years from now. What do you think that would be like? Would have that like changed dramatically?
Oh man, I honestly I find it hard to predict more than 6 months out these days. Yeah, in 3 years, like it's going to swing one of two ways, which is like everything is going to be AI, everything driven everywhere, or we're all going to come back to some semblance of balance in the middle and figure out what it does really good at and where we still need to have like other more traditional systems in place. So we'll see which way it goes.
No, nice. Yeah, let's see. I mean, it's very interesting times, I have to say. Like, and it's hard to follow up. It's really hard to follow up. But are you following up any trends, like you're personally paying more closest attention to, like you really like to follow up? Is like something that you want to share with us?
That's a good question. Like this is like outside of the data space, I guess I'll say, or tangential. Like I spend my career, and I'm like very, very interested and love what I do, of like, AI for business use cases and business applications. I am definitely keeping my eye on like how AI can also like make improvements in other things for the greater good. Like it's obviously very energy intensive. I would love to see like other scientific breakthroughs that come from it, whether medical related or energy or environmental related things that it unlocks for us, beyond just, making businesses do better, which is, still a fun part of my job.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. And now I also want to talk about Data AI Stockholm. Data AI Stockholm is a non-profit, and we operate in Sweden. And we are really like believers in bringing practitioners together and create a space where we can actually grow together, learn from each other, and tackle challenges together. So from your perspective, what role do communities like Data AI Stockholm play for people working in the data and AI field?
Yeah, I think like honestly, the thing, especially right now, because things like you just said, like things are just changing so fast, is like I think just learning from each other and community. Like I feel like I learn every single day from some of our customers that are like, hey, did you know I did this thing on Omni? I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And not just Omni specific, but like how folks are just like building different things or thinking about different sets of problems. I think in a lot of companies, like the data team, or like as a data practitioner, there's often not that many of us. Like it's typically a smallish size team. Sometimes in smaller companies, you may be the only person, and just like finding community to sort of bounce those ideas and just be curious of like, I don't know, what are you guys saying? Like, how are you using AI, and how are you solving this problem? Like, how are you managing context, and how is your sales team leveraging this type of stuff? I think is like the cool piece right now.
Yes. Throughout your career, have there been communities or mentors or networks that actually significantly shaped your own journey?
I think, yeah, it's a good question. Like for me, a bit has been actually more recent on like the product side. I joined a couple of product communities when I had first moved into product management. And that was really valuable because I had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, I like data, I like product stuff, but like, how do you actually think about this type of thing? Or I'm facing a problem with, even in the product world, like trying to communicate at the right level, like just asking for advice, or like, yeah, just learning tips from folks. So some of those have been really valuable for me. And like some of the Slack communities these days are really great too. Like I don't know if it's super active anymore, but I was active on like Locally Optimistic for a long time, which was like in the data world, and just seeing cool ideas folks are throwing out there is always fascinating, even as an observer.
Absolutely. Yes. Fantastic. And now I will actually go to my last question, and it's a question we always close, like in all our interviews, we close with the same question, and that is, what does responsible AI mean to you?
Yeah, I think I feel like responsible AI, right? Like there's probably a lot of interpretations. For me right now, it means like just because you could doesn't necessarily mean you should, like when it comes to using AI. And I'll give you like the example I think about as we're building like Omni, for example. Like I said before, I truly believe that probably 90% of like the starting point for folks is going to be starting with AI. And like for me as a product builder, that's both exciting because I'm like, oh, wow, this is a fantastic new interface. Like it's a really great way to like let folks move quickly and, use the product really easily. At the same time, like there's cost to AI in various ways. Like there's environmental cost, there's energy, there's just like monetary cost. And so I think it's really important to think about like, just because I can go throw AI at every single problem, or I can like rederive that question from scratch if I had to, being thoughtful about when does it actually make sense to do this a deterministic way. Like if a user is asking the same type of question over and over and over again, like that gets expensive. Again, like there's energy behind that stuff to rederive it versus like, how can we make that more repeatable where it doesn't have to start from scratch each time. So those are some of the things I think about. Like,
I mean, yes, exactly. And there are so many aspects, and I love your point of view there. But yeah, responsible AI, it depends also who you ask. But it's a very interesting, every time we get so interesting responses, and I love this. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
And Arielle, thank you again so much for taking the time to speak with us today and for sharing your experience and perspectives. And a special, of course, thank you to Omni for supporting the Data AI Stockholm community, for being a strategic sponsor of the Data AI Stockholm Summit this year. And for everyone, of course, watching, we will include links to learn more about Omni in the description below. And if you would like to join us at the summit on October 14th in Stockholm, stay tuned for more announcements coming soon. And thank you again, everyone, for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.